Compare and contrast party government between India and the US. The relations between India and the US since the 1990s, based on shared democratic values and increasing convergence of interests on bilateral, regional, and global issues, India-US bilateral relations have also developed into a global strategic partnership. The United States and India have shared interests in promoting global security, stability, and economic prosperity through trade, investment, and connectivity. The United States supports India's emergence as a leading global power and a vital partner in efforts to safeguard the Indo-Pacific as a region of peace, stability, and growing prosperity. Diplomatic relations between the two countries were established in the 1947, and since then they have built a strong strategic partnership based on shared values and interests. The political and governmental relations between the US and India is dynamic, which is characterized by ongoing dialogue, cooperation, and a shared vision for addressing common challenges and pursuing mutual benefits. For the democracy between India and the US, India and the United States are both democratic countries, but they differ in several aspects. Democracy in India is characterized by a parliamentary system of government and a highly diverse population. The president serves at the head of state, while the prime minister is the head of government. On the other hand, the United States has a federal presidential system with a constitutionally established separation of powers. The United States predominantly has a two-party system dominated by the Democratic and Republican parties. Despite the differences, both countries uphold democratic principles, including the importance of free and fair elections, the rule of law, and an independent judiciary. Compare and contrast parliamentary system and presidential system between India and the US. As both countries have different systems, the parliamentary system in India and the presidential system in the United States have different characteristics. In India's parliamentary system, the president holds a ceremonial role while the prime minister is the head of government and exercises executive powers. In India, executive powers is responsible for legislature, while in presidential system in the US is not responsible for legislature. The executive powers is vested in the prime minister and the council of ministers who are accountable to the parliament. In this legislature consists of the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha, with the Prime Minister being responsible to the latter. In contrast, the U.S. presidential system combines the role of head of state and head of government in president, who has significant executive powers. The president forms a cabinet and has separate accountability from legislature. The United States has a clear separation of power among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. The Prime Minister in India is indirectly elected by the Member of Parliament, while the President of the United States is elected through an electoral college system. Political parties play a crucial role in both systems, with the Prime Minister being typically a leader of the majority or coalition in India and the President running on a party ticket in the United States. These systems offer different mechanisms for governance and representation, with variations and specific nouns within each. The election system in India and the United States differ in significant ways. In India, citizens directly vote for members of parliament and the majority party or coalition form the government. And the United States operates under a presidential system with an indirect voting process through the Electoral College to elect the president and vice president. India used a first-past-the-post system, while the US employed the Electoral College to determine the final outcome. An ideal system to make democracy work. There are some key elements to make democracy efficient, such as free and fair and frequent elections, inclusion and representations, transparency and accountability, freedom of expression, and check and balances. For the free, fair, and frequent elections, whereby the citizens may participate in such elections both as voters and as candidates, although age and resident restrictions may be imposed. Inclusion and representations are essential for effective democracy. Inclusivity ensures the active involvement of diverse individuals and groups in the democratic process, providing equal opportunities for participation. Representations involve electing officials who reflect the diversity of the populations, ensuring different communities are adequately represented. These principles strengthen decision-making, foster social cohesion, and address the needs of all citizens. For transparency and accountability are also essential for effective democracy. Transparency ensures openness and access to information, preventing corruption, while accountability holds officials responsible for their actions. Together, they build trust and legitimacy in democratic institutions. In addition, freedom of expression are also important for democracy. Citizens may express themselves publicly on a broad range of politically relevant subjects without fear of punishment, and the government must be responsive to the general public concern. By addressing public concern, democracy ensures that policy and decisions reflect the interests and aspirations of the people, promoting a more inclusive and responsive governance. Last but not least, check and balances are also important for effective democracy. By ensuring a system of accountability and preventing the abuse of power, it involves the separation of powers among the branches of the government such as executive, legislative, and judicial, which each of its own specific roles and responsibilities. Through check and balances, these branches oversee the limit each other authorities, creating a system of mutual restraint and accountability. The system ensures that no single branch becomes too powerful, uphold the rule of law, and protect the right of freedoms of citizens.
Now we come to my part, which I will focus on the cause, deficiency of political party and party system in India and US. First of all, I will focus on the cause that bring political party and party system in India becoming downfall. There are 5 important points that causes the problem to happen. First of all is dynasty politics. The lack of intra-party democracy has also contributed to growing nepotism in political parties, with senior party leaders fielding their kins in elections. The succession plan for family constituency are being put in place. Another one is centralized structure of political parties. The centralized mode of functioning of the political party and the Extinction Anti-Defection Law of 1985 deters party legislatures from voting in the national and state legislature according to their individual preferences. For the next point is lack of law. Currently, there is no express provision for internal democratic regulation of political party in India, and the only governing law is provided by Section 29A of Representation of the People Act 1951, which provides for registration of political party with the ECI. However, the ECI power to require party to hold regular internal election for office barrier and candidate selection is compromised in the absence of any penal provision. Additionally, personality cult. There is a tendency of hero worship in people, and many times a leader takes over the party and builds his own coterie, ending all forms of intra-party democracy. For example, Mao Zedong taking over the People's Republic of China, Donald Trump hijacking the Republican Party of the USA. Last but not least, it is easy to subvert internal election. The ability of existing repositories of power to subvert internal institutional processes to consolidate power and maintain the status quo is unquestionable. Beside this viewpoint, the larger issue here is where the Indian party system is headed. A few recent important political happenings have revealed that the party system, which is mainstay of any parliamentary competitive electoral democracy, is facing a serious internal crisis and that the style of management of inner party challenges have given the impression of either apotism or crude party bossism. There is merit in the argument that Indians should be concerned about deterioration of the health of political parties. Additionally, India is ruled by authoritarian party bosses and category of political favorites. Indian democracy is threatened because of the completely under-democratic party system cannot be expected to practice democracy in the governance. So now, without further ado, let's move to the next part that I also will talk about the cause that make USA political system downfall and also less political party to join the election. In the USA, they adopted the two-party system, a political system in which the electorate gives its votes likely to only two major parties and in which one or the other party can win a majority in the legislature. The United States is the classic example of a nation with two-party system. Moreover, the contrast between two-party system and multi-party system are often exaggerated. With each major party in the United States, the Republican and the Democrat many factions are struggling for power. The presence of divergent interests under a single party canopy masks a process of struggle and compromise that under a multi-party system is out in the open. Major influences favorable to two-party system are the use of single-member district for the election of representative, the presidential system, and the absence of proportional representation. In addition to the single-member district system, in the United States, the presidential system induced parties to seek majority support. No fractional party can elect its presidential candidate, and third parties in nation politics have proved to be protest movement more than serious electoral enterprise. The two-party system is said to promote governmental stability because a single party can win a majority in the parliament and govern. A multi-party country, on the other hand, the formation of a government depends on the maintenance of coalition or party with enough total strength to form a parliamentary majority. The weakness of the ties that bind the coalition may threaten to continuance of a cabinet in power. The stability shown by the government of the United States has not been entirely due to its party system. It has been acute, but it has also promoted by the fact tenor and strong constitutional position of the president. The two-party system moderates the animosity of political strife. To appeal for support a majority of voters, a party must present a program sympathetic to the desire of most of the political active element of the population. In the formulation of such a program, an effort must be made to reconcile the conflict interests of different sections of the population. This enables of the party, if expanded, to resist demand that it commit itself without reservation to the policy urged by any particular extremist element. In effect, the party is a coalition for purpose of campaigning for the office. Here come to the end of my part, and I would like to invite my other teammate to continue and elaborate more on this topic. Thank you.
Hello to all those who are listening. So for my part, we will be discussing our opinion on the future direction of each of the government and the suggestion, as well as what are the problem and how should we tackle. So let's get started on India first. So India is on track to become the world's third largest economy by the 2027, surpassing Japan and Germany, and have the third largest stock by the 2030. Thanks to the global trends and key investment the country has made in technology and energy. And here lies the problem India will be facing: human resource. To ensure a stable growth with no worries of low human resource, a fast-growing large democracy, human capital will be the driving force behind the future growth. And our suggestions are on the health department, education department, and housing department. India must significantly invest in health to leverage its demographic dividend, and Ayushman Bharat is a big step towards easing the healthcare burden on the poor household. But to improve health outcomes, equal emphasis must be placed on the scheme of other objective of improving primary health infrastructure at the local level. Scaling up this initiative would require expanding and strengthening primary health infrastructure, enforcing quality standards, and conducting periodic audits. And second, education at both the primary and high levels deserve close attention as a priority. Data shows that in India, unemployment is highly concentrated among the most well-educated in society. Nearly 35% of those with postgraduate degrees are unemployed, as opposed to only 6% of the uneducated young workers. This raises questions about the gap between skill and educational degrees. Against this reality, the government must make significant efforts to expand capacity, incentivize research, and ease the regulatory burdens that bind educational institutions to small scale and low quality. And lastly, in modern India, cities have emerged as the engine of growth and opportunities. For people to thrive, cities must thrive as well. An increasingly urbanizing country needs to address its crisis of affordable housing supply in urban centers. Empowering metropolitan bodies for better governments, boosting rental housing, and funding urban local bodies emerge as some of those solutions. In the case of the United States, when Americans look to the future, they see threats on multiple fronts. Majority are at least somewhat worried about the moral values, climate change, and the state of the public school, and the soundness of the economic system. The public view providing quality, affordable healthcare to all Americans, increasing spending for education, and reducing the national debt as some of the top policy priorities for the future. And while these other issues might benefit from government action, the public has little confidence in the government's ability to effectively address this issue. Instead, Americans look to science and technology as potential problem solvers for the challenges the country will face in the future. In short, the problem with the current US government system is the lack of trust between the public and the government. To ensure a healthy relation between the government and the people, we suggest that the government should do what is in their power to satisfy the needs of the population rather than focusing their resources on any more international affairs than they should have already have. To put it simply, there needs to be focus on the real estate fix, supporting small businesses and better public health services to ensure greater relation between the government and the people. Firstly, optimizing the federal real property footprint by making smart investment in renovation and new facilities, driving down lease costs and disposing of unneeded real estate through a streamlined process that result in the greatest return to the taxpayer. The real estate market of the United States has been on a downward spiral trend ever since the 1990s, with many homes were built and never to be sold, creating unstable real estate market where it could crash at any moment. Secondly, improvement on the small business administration as the voice of the small business with Indian government by consolidating small business focused guaranteed lending and federal contracting certification program and at SBA. Showing support to small businesses is a really great way to gain trust from the population. Lastly, there need to be transformation on the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corp into a leaner and more efficient organization that is better prepared to respond to public health emergencies and provide vital health services, including by reducing the size of the corps and building up a reserve corps for response in public health emergencies. If the government can probably use the public health service system more effectively, then the population would be pleased as well. And thus, that concludes our short video project on the compare and contrast between the Indian government and the United States government. I would like to give a special thanks to our group member in this project, Minty Dapit and Pa Kim Hun, and also lecturer Mr. Sok Kusinara for giving us this opportunity to do this project. Thank you all for listening and watching.